Chapter 41. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. So, time to make a tasty stew for the folks. I opened my inventory and took out a sack of salt, potatoes mixed with other things such as carrots and radish, a few large chunks of dried meat, spices, and even some monster bones that could make a good broth, alongside a lot of hydra meat we have lying around. I bet it could taste nice. I checked if it had poison or something, and it didn't. It was just very high-quality meat. Lucifer and partner had been eating it up, but it was a gigantic beast, so there's a lot lying around even now. And because my inventory doesn't let food spoil, it is the perfect place to store stuff without worrying about it rotting away. The goblins here were very cooperative, as they began to help me cut the meat and vegetables and boil them in fresh water that they took from a nearby lake. The hydra meat was actually quite tasty when boiled in salt and made an amazing broth if we added some bones into it. Oh ho! The bones' richness is slowly boiled into the flavors of the soup. Oh my, oh my! It's looking delish. Finally, some decent food. Salt, how much I've missed you. Now that I can materialize, I can eat food and even slowly convert it into mana through a similar thing as digesting, but I don't have to go to the bathroom anymore. Yeah. It feels honestly normal at this point because I got used to it, but not needing to do both is a bit strange when you think about it. Anyways, I better not talk about that in the middle of the food, though. I left Lucifer and partner to roast the meat. They added some spices and salt too and were quite cooperative. I am guessing that Lucifer was also hungry for some tastier food than just raw monster meat, but he was hiding it because he's a prideful and grumpy old dragon. And partner, well, she inherited my liking for tasty food, so she wanted to try out some salt on her meat. In addition, Kuro went into the lake and began to hunt fish. He brought them back with his mouth and even ended. Splash. Gloop. 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 A giant 3-meter tall catfish was suddenly thrown out of the lake. What a giant catfish. It has been ages since we had one. Amazing. Hooray for Kuro. The goblins began to praise my cat as he jumped out of the lake. He hunted quite a big game for us. We decided to save it for later though, as we don't have to eat everything, and we have already made around 6 pots filled with stew, which should be more than enough for the goblins. They have small stomachs and there are less than 40, so it should be feasible to feed everyone. I also cut down the bread into slices and distributed it with the stew. And in an instant, everyone began to dig in. Family, friends, and the young ones. It was a pleasant sight. We sat down at a table with Lucifer, partner, the chief, and Gyufiman. Meanwhile, Kuro was snacking on a meter-big catfish, which was probably a smaller version of the giant he got. The sun is bright today. Yuwa, this was really a nice day to just relax. Been a while since we truly relaxed for once, huh? I said. Indeed. It has truly been a while. Though we have been camping around, being with the living really does make things livelier. You've been taking good care of your people, Lucifer said to the chief. We are doing what we can, sir. But even then, many died in that raid, so we ended up becoming even less. Many hunters died there, so we now have way more women and children compared to adult hunters, said the chief. Do women do not hunt? I asked. It's not that they're weaker or something, but they're taking care of the kids. They're better at that than we are, a thing of culture you see. The goblin replied. Oh. I see. There are a few ladies that hunt. They're strong on their own, but they also got kids and don't want to stay away from them for too long. We are trying to make up for the losses of the past years by having more kids to fill up our ranks, but it's gonna take a while, sighed the goblin. Can I get seconds? Gyufiman asked me as she showed me her clean plate. Her face was a bit nasty with stew. You really liked it, didn't you? I asked while petting her. I loved it. I've never eaten something so yummy before, she said. Ah. Go Fumin, don't be rude asking for more food. We have already been helped so much. Be more mindful, will you? The rest of the food is for the rest of the people, too, said the chief. I want some more, Go Fumin sighed. I served her some more while also adding a slice of bread. Here, dearie. You're so young. You need to eat a lot to grow strong like your mama, I said. Ooh. Thank you. Lady Maria, if you begin giving her seconds, then everyone will think you're using favoritism. It is not a good thing, even less as the daughter of the chief. Sighed the chief. Well, why should I care? If they want seconds, they can come. First come, first serve. Don't complain if you didn't get seconds. See, as I roared, the goblin village exploded, and everyone came rushing for seconds. There were enough seconds for everyone, but I served them less than before. Foo-foo. Lady Maria is quite something, said the chief. She's like that. You'll get used to her, chief, Lucifer added. I want thirds. Partner shouted. There's no more. I replied. Moo, partner got a bit angry, hitting the floor with her foot and pouting. I am still hungry, she sighed. But there's no more, I said. I want more. Fway. Partner began to grab my breasts and annoyingly play with them until I was to give her what she wanted. Ah. Stop, I said, as I hit her head with a book I had in hand. Smack. Gay. How very rude. You don't go treating me like that, young lady. I said. Boo. Sorry, she apologized. Ah, how can I get angry with those puppy eyes? I opened my inventory and gave her a large hydra leg. This should do, dearie, don't get so desperate, I sighed. Ooh, meat. And the problem was solved. Ugh, I think I might be too forgiving. Chapter 42. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Now that we are done with feeding the people, I had many plans to put in action. First of all, fake life. I raised a few undead guards, who the group of guys we killed yesterday, alongside the group of half-munched guys that Kuro ate. I managed to close their wounds using undead healing, but undead healing doesn't bring back flesh, so it can only seal wounds and cauterize them, so they still look disfigured. I did this in front of the goblins so they would be used to undead as soon as possible. I had planned to use the pile of slime I had to make slime undead, but I had heard from a goblin woman that they could be made into a preparation named slimy jelly, so I decided to give it to them instead. I mean, the more food, the better. The bones we had from monsters we hunted could be used for broth, so I didn't raise them either. They were monster bones and were rich in mana and flavor. So, in the end, we were left with just these guys. I made them into undead, and thankfully they kept part of their original power, which was honestly amazing news. Also, they were more competent than I thought, although they groaned a lot. I ordered them to protect the village as they nodded dumbly and began to guard the surrounding area. They look promising, but there's something telling me that they are stupid. They were as strong as G.rank monsters and were simply named zombies. It is normally a hard decision for monsters to create undead because it is often way better just to use them for food. Maybe I should just sacrifice some bones and make a few bone undead. Alright, fine, maybe we can pick some boars later to make up for the flavorful bones gone. Using these mixed bones left, I created 3 bone beasts. They were as strong as F.rank monsters and could hold up on their own. They had the shape of snakes, as I made them with the hydra's neck bones and so on. Also, one of them was reinforced with a random bone I had, creating a thick bone armor. Incredible, Maria is really a goddess. She can create monsters. The next demon lord. The goblins began to pray to me as they saw me raise the dead. Ha! I thought they would be scared. What is going on? I asked. Well, the demon lord was known for being a necromancer and also a summoner. He was able to summon monsters and create undead easily, making immense armies to fight the humans in just a few days, Lucifer said. Ooh, I see. The power to raise the dead is something scarce. It is a mystical power that only those chosen by the god of the underworld can wield. Shouted the elder of the village. Well, I do have this curse. But for some reason, I am not siphoning their fortune. Why is it? Oh, wait, it only works in neutral and enemy targets. So these people already count as my besties. Ah. God of the underworld, you're so considerate. Anyways, after showing off what I could do, I placed the new undead to guard for now, and after, we decided to move on to a major problem. The bandits. We have seen them around the north of the forest. They hide inside a cave within an area with tall hills. We used to go there to mine salt and a few metals, but they forced us out, and now they have been occupying that place for 4 years now. The chief explained. I see. Alright, pack your strongest men. I am going to use those tasty EXP bags to level you guys up, I said. Level up. Us? Asked the chief. Yep, so hurry up. I want at least one of you to become a hobgoblin if possible, O.O. The capable men quickly got ready, wearing armor they stole from the caravan of goods from the merchant I've brainwashed, alongside some of the magic weapons the guys carried around. I got a bit concerned about the remaining goblins' safety as just the undead might not be enough. Lucifer, take care of them until we return, I said. What? But I wanted to slaughter some humans. Lucifer shouted while getting angry. He's quite cute. No is no. You stay here and make sure they're well protected. The chief told me that there's another faraway bandit group that might assault them if they see us go away, so keep an eye on them, will ya? Very well. I can kill them if they come, right? He asked. No, only cut their limbs or something, so they can't escape. The goblins have to kill them to get the EXP, I said. What, well. It doesn't sound so bad. Fine, Lucifer finally gave in. You're a good boy. I said, patting his head while floating in midair. Stop treating me like a dog. Cried Lucifer. He's really like a puppy. He's even moving his tail around. I'll go with partner and Kuro. Take care of the new undead friends. They're looking up to you as their senpai, I said. Lucifer noticed how the bone beasts and the zombies looked at him as if he were their idol, even their blank sockets seemed to glimmer with sparkles. Groar, growl, ga, eh. Stop looking at me like that. Go back to guarding the area. Lucifer shouted. As we left the village with the chief and another 15 goblins, we were guided by the chief through the forest. It was a pretty clear and bright forest compared to the one where we came from. The trees were not as tall, and the light of the sun penetrated through the leaves better. We walked upwards, following a river that moved down a hill, and, there it was. A large cave was beneath a grassy hill. There were some camps around and a lot of dudes walking around with leather clothes. I also saw one of them was roasting a large boar. And another was carrying around. Wait, those are slaves. They have slaves. Goblins, even humans, and, is that an elf? I asked. Ah. That must be new. They enslaved goblins from another place. The chief shouted. He was just as surprised as me. What's going on here? Chapter 43. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I glanced down below at the bandits' hideout. They were carrying more slaves with them. Seriously, from all the clichés we had to get, there had to be a lot of slave abuse. Ugh. The goblin chief was surprised as none of the goblins were recognized by our group, which means they probably came from another tribe of goblins. But how? Did they steal them from another merchant? I looked around and found a large carriage. Was this slave week or something? They did indeed catch a carriage filled with slaves, and the merchant inside was probably killed if there was one. What should we do? The chief asked. Isn't it obvious? We'll storm the place and rescue the slaves, I responded. Very well. The goblins readied themselves, gripping their weapons tightly. They should chill out a bit. I used shadow sneak, stealth, and erase presence to sneak into the hideout by carrying everyone inside of my shadow storage. And like I thought, I was able to do such a sneaky thing. In fact, it was pretty easy. When I got near it, the small batch of goblins jumped out of my shadow, and the bandits were shocked. What? The bandits began to scream in surprise, but partner and I were faster. We moved at a speed that they could barely see, and we began blasting their limbs away. Partner used her spear to slice the limbs of the guy near her, who was sitting over a log enjoying some boar soup. Slash. 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 Gryag. Blood sprayed everywhere, and partner was so fast that she cut off his limbs in an instant. He fell onto the ground, and the goblin chief came to finish him off. And without even explaining anything to the guy, a knife went in between his two eyes. The goblins were ready to massacre. We used our speed and deadly attacks to blow away the limbs of the initial wave of bandits that were outside. I used my dark gale to slice them up easily. Humans such as bandits were nothing compared to AC.rank monsters such as me. I could kill them by merely glaring at them, but I wanted the goblins to get their sweet EXP, so I held back. I continued slicing limbs as if it were the most incredible thing ever. There was undoubtedly something entertaining about seeing them confused and squealing in agony like pigs. They didn't even know who we were or what we were, but they died by the goblins one by one without ever knowing what happened. Kuro kept a watch around while we continued our slaughter. Fest. What is going on? They're slicing their limbs. Who are those two girls? They're too strong. Adventurers, no, heroes. Shit, run. A second wave of cowardly bandits came forth. They were scared shitless of us and began to escape from the cave. Well, they tried at least as we immediately appeared in front of them. I merely willed it, and slicing dark winds cut their limbs, with the group of goblins following us from behind like ducklings, slaughtering what we left for them in turns. If all of them added damage to the bandit, they would get shared EXP, so they made sure to pierce their bodies several times with their weapons before giving him the finishing blow. With this, each bandit died quite horribly. I even began to feel sorry for these guys, but that feeling quickly faded away when I started to simply not care. I am so detached from my humanity at this point that I don't even see them as people but as EXP bags and possible undead materials. The screams of the confused bandits continued as we began to move deeper into the cave. There, we found a small group of tents with the slaves caged behind metal bars or being held hostage by the last dozen of bandits. They had knives near their throats, and the trembling goblins, elves, and even humans were looking at us with horror. Not a single step more, or we'll kill them. You guys, from where did you get these slaves? I asked. Didn't you hear what we said? And how come you all are so equipped? I doubt that the merchant carriage had everything for you, that's a secret. And why are you loaded with these boxes filled with dark potions? I looked at entire wooden boxes filled with black liquid potions. They looked strange. Black miasma potion, C.rank, a special concoction made from the extraction of the residual miasma of the fragments of the evil god. It is refined into a potion that temporarily enhances all stats while giving the user unprecedented supernatural strength. Side effects include headache, vomit, fever, death, or mutation into a demon. Wow, what the heck? This looks pretty suspicious to me, not going to lie, I muttered before explaining the effects to the goblins, and they were left speechless. "Why don't you bastards, what do you want to use these potions for?" the chief shouted. Not a single step, or we'll kill them." "Ah, right, the slaves. All right." I used shadow sneak, and sneaked into the shadows, and in less than a second, I dragged all the bandits down with me inside of my shadow storage. Yup, I can do that too. What the heck? Where are we? It's all dark. Welcome to my domain. My voice sent shivers down their spines as they began to slash at the empty air. I flew around and used Dark Gale consecutively. In just 10 seconds, all of them were limbless and screaming in agony while losing large quantities of blood. I rushed to the outside world again and threw them to the ground. Kill them. I can ask their souls anyways. The goblins grabbed their weapons as they rushed towards the defenseless bandits. Slashy slash, stabby stab, they were all stabbed to death. Even some slaves joined in as they hated these guys a lot. Their eyes were completely filled with bloodthirst. When everything was done, I had gained a nice amount of EXP, enough to level up once. Chapter 44. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding! You've gained 4,650 EXP, your level has increased from level 0 to level 1. I could have gained more EXP if I killed them all myself, but that wasn't the plan. I wanted the goblins to get the most EXP because they were going to get strong and protect their place while I wasn't around later. And ideally, I would want some of them to become hobgoblins. I got so many experience points. I can't believe it. I am about to hit level 10, the chief said in excitement. Nice. I said while patting the baldy's head. Thank you for doing this for us, Lady Maria. We feel so strong now. We gained a lot of strength. I think I even gained a new skill. It seems that the level.ups brought them nice stats overall. Some even gained bonus skills. I don't know why aristocrats don't do this. Just ask some adventurers to bring you half-dead monsters or something. Or maybe they do it, and they still suck. Nonetheless, we were done here. The former slaves were freed, and many of them began to cry. I caught the souls of the bandits before they were able to escape and imprisoned them inside my shadows. They began to slowly get encroached by the power of my Undead Queen title, and in only a bit of time, they should become more open to talk. Thank you, strangers. It was really horrible. I can finally go back to my homeland. How can I see my family again after these demons have used me? It seems that some of the girls were used by these pigs. Ugh. I hate this trope too. The worst part is that, aside from agonizingly killing the ones that did this to them, I can't do anything else. We'll receive you into our tribe after resting for a while and eating well. You can consider going back to your homes or stay with us. No matter the race, we'll accept you, said the goblin chief. He was an innate leader, and his simple words convinced the slaves, who felt welcomed and safe by the goblin. Thank you, I hope we are not too much of a bother. Is this a dream? Are we really free? As the goblin chief took care of the slaves for me, I began to pick everything up into my infinite inventory. Boop. Tent gone. Boop. Food's gone too. Boop. Extremely suspicious miasma potions are nowhere to be seen now. Boop. Corpses are gone as well. I cleansed the entire cave of anything worth value or not, and then we finally decided to move back to the tribe. There was a lot to talk about, especially these suspicious potions I was carrying with me. Why were these things made, and who made them? What was the purpose behind them? Did bandits steal it from the merchant they got the slaves from as well? Oh right, the slaves might know something. I asked the elf girl with long blonde hair and emerald eyes. Her eyes were filled with sorrow as she seemed to have been used very roughly. A leather coat barely covered her as she was almost nude when we found her. We'll also make sure that she takes a good bath later. I remember that, the potions, they were used on us, they once made me drink one. It made me go insane. I still have sequels from it. I remember there was a man, coated in black robes, perhaps he was behind this. We have only met him thrice. He goes from one bandit hideout to another. Perhaps they all work for him, said the elf. So they use them as slaves to experiment on. Do they want to create an army of beastly people with them? Oh, dear. Well, make sure you get some rest. But let me ask. Do you remember anything from where you came from? I asked. We used to be from a merchant that captured me almost a year ago. I used to be an adventurer. I wasn't even a criminal slave. They just captured me when I decided to go complete a quest in the outskirts of Athnaria. I wasn't able to escape, and they knocked me out. When I woke up, I had a collar around my neck, and I became a slave. Since then, I've wished to die every single day. I think that I was given that potion, as it has made my mind dizzy, and fragments of my traumas have disappeared, but even then, the things, they did to me. Sniff, the elven girl began to cry as she suddenly tripped over a rock. Her barefoot was all damaged, filled with wounds that were infected. I wish I could heal her. Dear, I'll carry you. I held her with my arms as I carried her like a princess. Fway. Why you, don't need to, do this. She stuttered. Don't worry. It's nothing. You're very light, like a feather, I said with a smile. But isn't it embarrassing? She asked. No. Why would it be? I saw your feet damaged and I couldn't bear seeing you walk anymore. We'll make sure to heal them. You can wash your body by the river in privacy, too. Thank you for being so considerate. The other former slaves were carried in the carriage, which Kuro moved to the tribe. After 40 minutes, we arrived back at the tribe. Nothing happened. You were paranoiac, said Lucifer. Apparently, no bandits came here while we were off. Well, that's for the best. We brought a lot of people and stuff, I see. And that elf? He asked, looking at the elf in my arms. Oh. I just couldn't bear to see such a cutie walking with her foot so damaged. You can call me heroic all you want, I'll take the title of the heroic ghost. I laughed. Lucifer looked at the elf girl as she timidly gave him a glance. Hello, hi. We'll take care of you. For now, you should go wash up, Lucifer said. I'll bring her to the nearby river. Like this, we brought many slaves to wash as they were all filthy. After that, we used the help of some of the goblins with a talent for healing magic, and we healed their minor wounds alongside using medicinal herbs harvested around the forest. There was still a lot to do yet, and I am still in the blue about who exactly is this guy with black robes. If he's threatening this whole place, we'll have to smack him out of the picture. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The figure of a pale man coated in black robes looked at a crystal ball. He had left a powerful spell to look at the caves of the bandits he was managing, like camera surveillance. However, as he saw how one of the bandit hideouts was assaulted and destroyed so easily, he couldn't help but feel bitter. Even more, they took away the precious miasma potions he had been painstakingly making for his bosses, the mysterious organization of blood addicts that moved things behind the shadows. He used a familiar in the shape of a bird to look over the goblin village from very far above. Who are these people? Just when did the Duke and those two fat pigs die? I lost so many clients. Also, now there are these strange Magian trying to interfere with my plans. They're strong though, I have to admit it. However, I cannot simply let them do as they please with my belongings. The man raged as he looked over the dark cave from where he was. Several slaves were working incessantly in making more potions. The strange materials, dark secretions that released a poisonous gas when they boiled into the concoction, and other things were weakening and making them look moribund, sickly, even. There were goblins, elves, dwarves, and even humans. These slaves came from all around the kingdom for him. After all, as he was the leader of this small branch of the Bloodsuckers' secret organization, he was given a lot of generous resources from his masters. He was working so far away from civilization to not be found out, and one of the major buyers of his products were the Duke and the 2 pigs in Aphnaria, who were mysteriously assassinated several days ago. Now, he was left with a ton of items to sell elsewhere. He had already managed to find a bullet in the neighbor duchy, but it would take some time to get them there. This is why he had taken over the nearby bandits and made them his pawns. It was their job to bring these potions there, and this is why he had given them some slaves to aid them. But of course, these mysterious figures emerged and ruined his plans. The man gritted his teeth as his pale face was filled to the brim with frustration. Why was he always so unlucky? The reason behind the assassination of those 3 is still a mystery, but I bet the Duke's siblings settled it. They went to war against one another for the throne, and thankfully, as their father is already sickly, and his days are counted, in less than a year, he will kick the bucket, the man thought. He began to walk through the dark caves, reaching a deeper area. After that happens, the most capable will become the next king or queen. All these greedy royals are all the same. No matter how righteous they act, they would slaughter their own families so they can rise to become the top dogs of their shitty country. But well, I am a servant of my lords, and I only obey them and nobody else. And they know about all of this. He continued down into the abyss-like cave, feeling the coldness of the dark wrap around him. They have most likely received several offers from the aristocrats as they're moving fast. They're going to use these potions and other products made from the residual essence of the evil god fragment to boost their troop strength and make powerfully monstrous soldiers. The wars between the duchies, how amusing. Humans are fascinating. As the man thought these things, he reached an empty room and began to use several materials he had inside a spatial pouch to carve several magic circles in the ground. He even began to light some candles around it and put on several bones, some cartilage, and other materials from monsters. Like this, they will end up giving aid to whoever they deem the easiest to manipulate, and make him king, essentially turning all of my lords and their families into the secret rulers of the entire kingdom. Ha ha ha. Such an easy plan. It is finally time. Unless the church dares to summon heroes. But they shouldn't be able to. The summoning circle made by Odin to summon the heroes was broken in the last war against the Demon King, he muttered as he looked at the magic circle he created rather casually. He poured lots of the potion he was making on the entire area and then walked off of it, pointing his staff which was decorated with a human skull. It is done. Come forth, my nether beasts. Advanced necromancy, fake life. Flash. Conjuring the mighty spells, the black-robbed man smiled maliciously as the materials merged together and formed large figures within the shadows. Monstrous creatures started to emerge, roaring furiously. They looked like horrendous spawns of the netherworld, ready to ravage anything. And they exuded the power of high-ranked monsters. Gruor. Gra. Gruoror. This should be more than enough. But let us wait for the right time first, he muttered before petting the grotesque creatures. After the former slaves were washed and given new clothes, we helped them heal using the magic that some talented goblins with a knack for healing magic had. I wish I could have healing magic. Healing undead doesn't count. I tried using it on a half-dead rabbit, but instead of being healed, it began to rot. It terrified me. Perhaps I could use it as a rotting attack against the living. I might have to test it a bit more. But honestly, it could be cool to touch someone's face and look them in the eyes, saying, "You're already rotten," as I begin to rot their entire heads into a smelly pulp of slimy flesh. Ah. Wait, no. That's sick. How can I think such a thing? I guess being a ghost really gives you another vibe regarding all of this stuff. Honestly, I wasn't even a fan of gore back on Earth, but now it feels like it's part of my being or something. Pretty crazy. Anyways, after the initial introductions, we made more food as I was starving. Well, not really, but the rest were. Chapter 46. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We picked up a lot of food from the bandit raid, like a lot. They had so much bread, dried meat, vegetables, grains, and seeds of all sorts that it was as if they were living a super fantastic life there. They even had 3 boxes filled with wines aged for over 30 years, which should be super expensive. Wine. I wasn't particularly into drinking back then, but any decent adult woman should enjoy wine at one time or another. But I mostly drank it because I was a loser virgin and drowning myself in wine made me happier, but let's not talk about that. Look, Lucy. I said as I showed the wine to Lucifer. Lucy. I am Lucifer. Don't forget my name. What's that? Lucifer approached me as he was watching over the goblins cooking the food. He then looked at the wine bottle as I saw that his eyes dimly shone with excitement. Wine. I shouted. It is really wine. How long has it been? Lucifer wondered. Wine. What's wine? Asked partner. It is a very bitter and spicy juice with a little flavor of rotten fruit that makes you feel funny, I said. Oh. I want wine then. Partner said despite my gross explanation. No. You're way too young for that, partner. Wine is for the adults. I said, hugging my bottle. Gay. But I want wine. 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 Partner began to complain again. Fine, but only a little glass, I said. Yay. I don't think the wine will affect us anymore. We are undead, Lucifer said. Right. Well, whatever, we'll still drink it. I shouted while crossing my arms. Fine, Lucifer muttered. After that, we decided to sit down and converse with the former slaves who were willing to talk. It was fun to listen to their stories. There was a merchant guy who got captured half a year ago. He was forced to work for the black-robed man. He told me that he was part of a team that made that ugly potion, but he didn't remember anything more. Perhaps they brainwashed him not to remember the details. He's a good alchemist but wishes to go back to Afnaria, although he has nothing now that he lost everything, so he was also considering staying here. His name was Manuel, by the way. Another guy was a young dwarf blacksmith. He used to be part of a little village far away from here, living in a mountain range with his village of dwarves. They sold weapons and armor for a living and had close ties with a dwarf kingdom and the kingdom of humans here. However, their village was raided by orcs, and they lost everything. When he escaped, he was captured by bandits and sold as a slave that was proficient in blacksmithing, which was quite valuable. He seemed to have nowhere to go now, so he was staying here. I immediately knew that he could be useful for the gobs, and also, his name was Grabo. And aside from these 2 talented guys, there were a bunch of other guys that were just good with their muscles and other technical stuff that the enslaver taught to them. Half of them wanted to go back to Afnaria, and the other half decided to stay here, increasing the population of the goblin village. These guys were decently strong so they could become good hunters to aid the goblins. The girls on the other side were less in numbers, but were also all quite broken. There were very few that were not sold for nasty things, such as sex. Many of them were being abused on a daily basis, multiple times a day. They were the most traumatized and had difficulty speaking as they seemed to be exhausted from even living. The only one that spoke was the elf girl. Her name was Emeraldine Sylphie, and she was actually a half-elf with a strong elven bloodline, making her look a lot like a pure one. Her mother was unknown, but she said her father was a warrior of an elven kingdom. But sadly, her father died from a disease in his bones when he was 60, and she was left alone at the age of 23, working as an adventurer and using her gifted talents from her mother to hunt beasts and make a living out of it. She was barely managing to survive every month, but she said she was quite happy. She's good with a bow, wind magic, light magic, wood magic, and spirit magic, but is quite clumsy, and it was pretty apparent. She has a lot of talent and potential. She could become a good village protector if she's willing to go back to training and build her body back up to a decent state. You guys had it pretty hard. I sighed. Indeed. But it's nothing compared to what you seem to have gone through. After all, you just said you were a ghost, Lady Maria. The dwarf asks. He's a sharp guy. Ha ha ha. No. I am a magen. Not a ghost, that was just some flashy magic. I like to call myself a ghost because I am like one, I responded. Oh, I have never seen such a pale and human like magen before, but your silvery white hair and crimson red eyes. Are you half vampire? Asked the human. Not really. I would like to keep my identity a secret, you guys, so don't try to dig too deep on me, I said. Oh, we apologize. We didn't want to offend you. Yeah, we were just a bit curious. So you were not a ghost, Maria? Asked the elf. How could a ghost talk and have flesh like me? I am totally alive. I shouted. But you made those undead, right? Asked Emeraldine. Yeah. I just happen to have an affinity with death magic, nothing too crazy. Oh, after the meal was done, I brought everyone with me some plates of food. The slaves were barely fed some scraps, so they were delighted when they could finally eat a full and hot meal. I guess I'd like to see these people be a bit happier for a redemption arc. Chapter 47. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As we had done what we needed to, the day quickly came to an end, with the night already gracing us with its presence. Also, my party and I decided to keep watch at night this time around. We are undead, so we don't get tired anyways. I left Emeraldine, who had gotten oddly clingy with me, where we slept last night. I also gave her a petting of good nights as she hugged me for some reason. And after that, she went to Dreamland. She's so cute. She's like another daughter. Yua, am I collecting daughters now? She has such a sad past, so I really want to spoil her. Gyufuman also grew a bit closer to Emeraldine, and the two ended up sleeping next to each other. Gyufuman usually slept at the side of her over protective father, but he let her be this time because he knew he could trust the half-elf. Fake life. Flash. Several phantom masses possessed the corpses of half of the bandits we killed just today. I also put in the effort of sticking back their limbs using my undead healing as a glue-like spell. These guys kept part of their original techniques and were quite formidable warriors, but under my command, they were unable to resist and became very loyal undead, which was perfect for guarding at night. I had also convinced the souls of the bandits to speak, so they told me everything they knew. The information wasn't anything new from what I had already learned from the former slaves. These guys were contracted by a mysterious, black-robed guy who they didn't even know the name of, and that was pretty much it. They were asked to distribute this potion in the next couple of days to the neighbor duchy next to Afnaria, which we would reach by crossing the road. It was also our next destination in our aristocrat pig slaying journey. I had thought about putting them into their original bodies, so the undead would be more intelligent, but remembering what they did to Emeraldine and all the other girl slaves, I couldn't help but torture them a bit. I had shaped my ghostly soul into countless black spikes and used them to pierce their souls for several minutes. Soul pain exists, and it is several times stronger than physical pain too. It is a searing pain that makes your mind go numb with a single hit. And as a ghost, I got used to it already, but these guys, they don't even understand what's going on. They're just suffering horribly. How do you like it? Being penetrated all over. Ha! Do you love it? You love to do it to those girls, right? How about now, motherfuckers? Gryaga. Kill me. Kill me. Wawa ag. Gaief. You're already dead, idiot. I sighed. I continued to shape my soul and this time into tentacles that literally pierced their entire souls until they were left like Swiss cheese. They all stopped screaming suddenly, as their wills and minds were completely broken. After that, I grabbed them and stuck them all together into a mass of phantasmal souls, wriggling grotesquely, and ate it. Chomp. Ding. You've gained 6,430 EXP. Your level has increased from level 2 to level 3. EXP 2306/6000, oi, that was a lot of EXP. What the heck? I guess eating this soul meatball was really the best EXP source. Anyways, after that, I began to drink wine with Lucifer while looking at the full moon sitting comfortably in the dark night. Partner was also with us, sitting in the middle and also sharing a glass of wine. Let's see how it is. I drank the wine, and it was, quite refreshing, better than just water. I don't even need to drink water anyway, so I barely drink it aside from when I feel like it, but still. It tasted a tad bit spicy and had a few notes of cherry. An alright wine, Lucifer muttered before drinking the whole glass. Have you drank better ones? I asked. Indeed, in the Magian Kingdom, we drank the best wine which we actually made. It was also sold cheap to our people, but we only drank it on festivities because there wasn't enough to drink all year long. Of course, some death magic users used aging, a spell that let them age things which helped us produce the wine, but I didn't like it as much as naturally aged one, said Lucifer. Aging. Can I learn that? Perhaps, but I don't see a use of it now. It can make older people more youthful if applied every day on them, but only as a massage though. I remember those old witches looking like young 20-year-old girls, thanks to it, ooh. That would be pretty nice to use, but I won't age, I guess, I shrugged. Indeed, but you could keep those that have aged a lot at your side through using it. Maybe using it on the elder, though I am sure he has a few more years, Lucifer smirked. He seems pretty energetic. He looks at my body as if I were made of gold or something. Pervert old man. I shouted. Well, your materialization is quite erotic. Have you not seen your own body? Never mind, Lucifer suddenly stopped himself from saying any more. Hoo-hoo. What is it? I asked cheekily. Nothing, tell me. Go on. I said. Nothing, Lucifer stuttered, shyly averting his gaze. What a perverted dragon. I chuckled. Pervert. Degenerate. Sinful. You'll burn in the flames of hell. Shouted partner, smacking Lucifer in the head with a stick. Ack. Cut it out. Lucifer shouted back. Although he didn't do anything against partner because she was pretty cute, I bet. As we drank wine and joked around, I suddenly heard a few footsteps approaching from the forest surrounding the camp. The undead and the bone beasts alerted me through their connection with me. Something was coming here and fast. Something's coming. Get ready to fight. I jumped off of the log I was sitting on as Kuro came rushing at my side. We suddenly heard the footsteps of the creatures and could tell there were three, and they were three big ones. Boars. Lucifer muttered. No. They're not boars. They feel stronger than that, I said. Ah. This aura. Netherworld beasts. Lucifer said those words as the beasts showed up in front of us right before reaching the village. Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We were sitting on a log right at the front of the village entrance. You see, the tents are centered at the left side of the lake, while we were sitting right in front of them where the forest begins again. And right from there, 3 creatures leaped out of it. All of them were releasing powerful death and dark auras. Their power was commendable, and they were overflowing with mana. I analyzed them and got this. Dark Netherworld Beast. LV1, rank. C, state. Hungry for souls and flesh, Dark Netherworld Beast Pack Leader. LV1, rank. C+, state. Hungry for souls and flesh, Dark Netherworld Beast. LV1, rank. C, state. Hungry for souls and flesh. I saw that their stats were pretty high, higher than I expected. They're at the same rank as me but higher than my companions. However, they seem weird, they're just level 1, and all their skills are not so strong nor varied. At most, they had the basic stuff with some unique things such as Nether Bite and Corrosion Claw. They also had magic such as Venom Bullet and the classic Dark Sphere. However, aside from that, they looked not so threatening, aside from the big stats, which were more inclined toward speed and offense, leaving them vulnerable for strong and explosive damage. We have to stop them before they get into the village and make any fuss. I used my authority over the undead I raised, and all the zombies and bone beasts rushed near the tents and camps, protecting the people there. In the worst-case scenario, they'll use themselves as meat shields so the people can escape. But the ideal case is to kill them before anything of this happens, of course. Lucifer, you know them. Yes. Powerful necromancers summon these monsters. They're impossibly hard to summon because most people lack the magic circles, inscriptions, and materials. You see, necromancers can even make recipes about undead and... We better not talk about this here, Gruer. Our discussion lasted about 10 seconds before the 3 beasts leaped towards us. They had the shape of oversized wolves with the heads of skulls and had black fur with black miasma inside of them. Their empty eyes glowed with blue phantom flames, and their tails were bony and spear-tipped. The pack leader was fierce and targeted me right away, while the other 2 targeted Lucifer, Kuro, and partner. Growl. Kuro roared loudly as he leaped towards one of them, his jaws quickly tearing apart their flesh, and his claws, which were coated in shadows, slashed right through their bony bodies. Slash. 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 Partner wanted to stay at my side, but I gave her the order to assist Lucifer and Kuro, so she nodded and used her spear to release 3 powerful thrusts behind the back of the beast that Kuro was targeting. The beast roared in anger as it fired a barrage of dark spheres that she evaded by jumping around swiftly. Boom. 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 On the other hand, Lucifer transformed into a dragon and used a strong body slam against the near 4-meter tall beast that targeted him, surprising them as he transformed. He used his claws to slice the beast's front limbs, but the beast regrew a new one by producing a black substance that materialized into a leg. Damned beasts! Lucifer got angry and bathed it in his breath of phantom flame. The beast evaded, but it still took some damage while jumping over him from his tail and firing a barrage of venom bullets towards his face. And me. Well, the pack leader was looking at me as if he had fallen in love with my ghostly beauty. What's wrong? Too scared to come at me. Oh right, sorry, I am draining you guys' mana while sitting here, oopsies. Rohur. The beast was easily provoked as it opened its jaws and released a blast of nether through its nether blast breath skill, which I evaded, leaving an afterimage of myself made of shadows which it thought it was me. I sneaked through his own shadow and emerged from behind him before shaping my shadows into tentacles that grasped his legs. I grabbed him tightly and began to slam him into the ground, smacking him while bombarding it with Dark Gale and Dark Sphere. I had to be rough here, so I went for Shadow Arrow Spears, too, and as the monsters had high resistance to Dark and Death Element, and were immune to status effects, my Famine Aura was not too good, and my Venom and Poison production would not work here either. Clash. 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 The beast got tired of my bullying while its resilience showed no bounds. Its regeneration power was the strongest asset it had, as it regenerated at an insane rate and without it didn't even require consuming energy, but this was all due to their innate skill. Super regeneration. Grewer. The beast roared at me before leaping towards me. I evaded swiftly, but he followed me from behind even when I dove into the shadows, as he fired dark spheres at me and then slashed the shadows themselves. This actually managed to slash my body and left some ghostly wounds on my body, causing me to lose HP. However, I used Undead Heal on myself and brought myself back to full HP once more. The thing is, 2 of his attacks quickly brought me down to 10% of my HP, and if there was a third attack, then I would have been a goner. Thankfully with my Mana Drain and Undead Heal, I can keep my mana and health up no problem, as long as I don't get hit a third time consecutively. There was no time to think things through too much, as I abused my constantly refilling mana pool to bombard it with long-ranged attacks as if there was no tomorrow. The beast roared angrily as it took damage, its regeneration unable to withstand so much, so it began to lose HP permanently, but it was still too tough. Should I get a bit more serious then? I used Shadow Storage, and threw the beast in there, enveloping it in a sack of shadows. I began to shapeshift the sack into countless spikes and started to smack the beast into the ground. But it didn't work as the beast slashed my own shadows before jumping towards me. Greyo. Tough motherfucker. Chapter 49. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The bastard sprung out of my fantastic shadow net and jumped straight towards me. I used Shadow Sneak to evade him by diving into faraway shadows, but he rushed after me rather hastily. Should I use my secret weapon? But it might affect the entire place. I am referring to Pandora's box, of course. By using a lot of mana, I can unleash a powerful explosive attack of pure darkness, death, and poison elements, but the thing is, it's a wide-range attack. What if it gets to the people in the village, and they all die? I can't let that happen. Let's see. Time to improvise. Groar. The netherworld beast reached me as I jumped out of the shadows and shaped my body like a snake. I began to wrap him around with my own body as I began to overcharge myself with shadows. Gra. Suddenly, he realized what was happening. Feeling a bit tight. I wrapped around his limbs like the dexterous snake I am not and tightly held his limbs. Then, I shaped the shadows into 2 spiked claws and used my own body to hold him as I started to tear him apart. Oof, this costs a lot of mana. But he provides a great amount. Greyakaka. A bit more and... Crack. I managed to tear his body in half as I saw a black substance coming out of the 2 halves. The 2 halves fall to the ground, and only the half with an upper body begins crawling around while the other is slowly melted back into a black substance that evaporates rather quickly. What the heck are these guys? The upper half begins to crawl in anger towards me while its other half slowly begins to grow out of this dark substance. Wait, is this miasma? Were these guys made using those black potions as materials? Maybe I should add that to my new undead. I quickly used my shadow whips through shadow manipulation to slap him into the ground. I covered the shadow whips with phantasmal spikes, which I made as hard as I could. I was infusing mana into the materialization skill, effectively raining the creature with spiky whips that began to tear it apart. Does this thing have a soul? I glared at it as it struggled to fight back. It began to shoot super-fast venom bullets, but I didn't evade them as they barely did any damage to me because they were magic-based, and my magic stat is insanely high. 50% of it is my resistance, so the result is obvious. I am a magic tank. Also, the venomous side doesn't affect me thanks to status effect immunity, but it has some sort of acidic power, which even makes my phantom melt a bit, but thankfully, nothing too much. Grawr. Suddenly, as I slapped it to death, it released a shockwave of shadows and venom towards me. I generated a barrier of shadows and materialized it into a large plate of dark matter. Like hardened substance, something I didn't know I could do. Clash. The shockwave was blocked, but my wall shattered into pieces. Grayar. I rushed into the air as I evaded his deadly leap. The beast's stats were pretty high even in this condition, but its HP was not recovering further, and that was because I used Mana Siphon, though I didn't have much mana. But thankfully, his regeneration is very weak now. I had also tried using Life Drain, but it doesn't work on Undead. If a living being uses Life Drain on an Undead, he will end up giving his own life to them as a counter effect, but if an Undead does this to an Undead, nothing happens. So it is only a tool that the Undead can use against the living unless a living person wants to heal their wounded Undead friend without having to give them their flesh and blood. Groar. The beast released his phantom flame breath, and his claws were coated in nether, slashing through the air and throwing slashing claw shaped energy waves at me. I evaded and blocked some, but they packed a strong punch. My barriers shattered quickly, and I ended up getting slashed a few times, but I constantly used Undead Heal on myself. However, I have also been chipping away at him. His HP was already lower than 20%. I had to just go a bit harder. Several magic arrows made of shadows emerge around me. They resemble more like sharp spears, but I called them arrow spears instead. And how about we add my new shadow materialization combination between shadow manipulation and materialization. The result. Super hardened flying projectiles. I am literally Gilgamesh but edgier now. Flash. 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 Boom. 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 My arrows continue to rain on the beast as it groans agonizingly. And finally, its entire body is torn apart, piece by piece. Die, motherfucker, die. Griyaag. Poof. Suddenly, it explodes into black smoke, leaving a pool of black water and its skull. Head. Sheesh, that was unexpectedly tough for a mob fight. I felt the EXP travel into me, but I ignored it as I needed to aid my allies. I found Lucifer getting almost owned by one of the beasts, despite them being much smaller. It began to tear down his stomach and had already slashed one of his legs, making it difficult for him to move. His claws were deadly as he had managed to lower the HP of the creature by half, but he was weaker due to his lower rank and stats despite being a former dragon. I guess he's very rusty. Hopefully, this EXP can help him out. Clash. I created a larger than usual spear arrow and materialized it, firing it at the monster. The result. It was pierced from its torso down, and it lost its balance, trying to still slash at the dragon's face. Maria. Lucifer cried at me as if he were delighted to see me. Having a tough time. Just help me. He cried, embarrassed, as we began to gang up on the beast. My arrows were insuperable but consumed mana in insane quantities, so I decided to create a shadow blade this time and wielded it as if I were a swordswoman. I was very clumsy, but Lucifer held the weakened beast with his claws, and I practiced a sword technique while slashing its body. Haha. This is actually fun. GGRYYRGGH, its HP went completely down, and thus, another one bit the dust. Now, onwards to the third and last one because I want to continue drinking wine. Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As I glanced at the rest, I noticed Kuro and partner working together to take down the last beast. Its HP was already below 50%, and the two were working wonderfully together. I suppose Kuro is weaker than Lucifer, so partner felt inclined to aid the cat better. And I hope it is not because of favoritism. I hope. Growl. Kuro roared fiercely as he jumped towards the beast and tore a chunk of bone and black flesh away. Partner used her spear techniques to pierce the wound and then shape several blood masses into blades, which pierced the beast again. Slash. 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 Rare. However, the beast was just as fierce as it attacked back with all its might and released a blast of shadows towards Kuro, shooting him into the sky. Kuro! I cried as I saw my cat fall onto the ground. I instantly reached him and poured some phantasmal essence on him through Undead Heal. His wounds quickly healed, and his HP stabilized. Mreo, I petted him before flying towards partner's side. Lucifer was barely standing as I forgot to heal him, but that doesn't matter now. Ha! Partner intercepted the enemy with her spear and used her long claws to defend herself. The beast was wild and tried to chomp her head, but she punched it in the face. Remember, she had steel bones. Clash. Gryag. Partner, let me give you a hand. I created a net of shadows and materialized it, keeping it tightly strung together, and although it cost tons of mana, this beast provided it without any problems. Kill, kill, kill. Partner roared angrily as she used her spear to pierce the beast's body several times, as I held it tightly to the ground. The beast growled a few last groans as its HP went down to 0, and its body could not keep itself together anymore, causing it to die on the spot. Phew, I guess that's that. Ding. Calculating EXP gained, you gain 25,000 EXP. Your level has increased from level 3 to level 4. Your level has increased from level 4 to level 5. Your level has increased from level 5 to level 6. Sweet, 3 levels in one shot. This is what I call a good grind. And what dropped items did we get? None, just black water, and some skulls. This is not a dungeon after all. Only dungeons have the power to give dropped items, it seems. After the whole incident, I rushed towards Lucifer and stuck back his leg using Undead Heal. You took your time, he sighed. Now that we are done here. What the heck was that? I asked Lucifer. The black-robed man is probably related to this. Were you able to catch any soul? Lucifer countered my question with another question. No, it was weird. They were very small and phantasmal, like partner's soul when I first raised her into a skeleton, I responded. I see. Then it is probably undead that was just raised, only for the objective of killing us. We should remain alert for the rest of the night while looking for clues as to where this bastard could be. I have the urge to crush him, crush. Partner shouted angrily. Grayo. Kuro roared as if wanting to enter the conversation. For the rest of the night, we continued watching around our surroundings. As undead, we didn't need sleep, so there was no problem in this regard. I snacked on some dried meat sticks from the bandits and drank some fruit juice which they also had. It was a pretty fine meal. But I shouldn't get too gluttonous. Food is unnecessary for me, and more like just having fun, so I shouldn't be eating what might be better off for someone else in the village, like the adorable Gofuman.chan. The morning came sooner than we expected, and thankfully, nothing else had occurred. After the goblins woke up, we spoke to them about the whole thing. They were shocked that they slept through all of that, as the battle was definitely tough. As they conversed amongst themselves, I decided to upgrade my undead based on what I learned from these netherworld beasts. I decided to use the miasma potions and the black water and bones they left behind. And upon gathering all of these materials, I told one of the bone beasts to follow me. I used the bone beast as an experiment to see if I could upgrade already existing undead. The result. It didn't work. It had to be used on something inert. So I shed a tear as I dispelled the fake life spell from this little friend I only met for a day, leaving only his bones. I used his bones for this new undead's body and mixed miasma potions into the concoction. The result. I summoned my own netherworld beast. Although it was fairly different, named Shadow Nether Beast, it wasn't C rank, but D+ rank. It was fine though, as it held some interesting abilities and was highly intelligent, resembling the netherworld beasts by quite a lot. But the most noticeable difference was that they were covered in shadows. I proceeded to do the same with every undead, allowing me to make 2 more shadow nether beasts while the zombies turned into dark ooze zombies. Their skin turned black like charcoal, and they were covered in black ooze, which acted kind of like a slime. They were able to open their body parts and release this ooze as tentacles to fight and surprise enemies, pretty useful. I gave them the most important order, which was protecting these people, and they seemed more intelligent than before, as they nodded with understanding. Who would have known that this miasma potion could make such OP undead? I had considered using undead as EXP bags for the goblins, but now that I upgraded them again and used materials on them, I feel like I shouldn't waste them. I also tried to make that one big fish Kuro caught into a zombie, but the result was that it began leaping around as it wasn't in the water. The goblins managed to kill it, but the EXP was so low it wasn't really worth it. Maybe EXP within undead depends on the quality of their bodies and the souls they have. Nonetheless, we will begin some scouting to find where this black-robed bastard is hiding.